Picked up this little mini fridge off Craigslist for free. Wasn't working, and when I got it, it looks like right here on this, I don't know what it would be called on a little mini fridge, but it looks to me like, you know, in comparison to working on a car, this would be your evaporator core. And it looks like somebody's tried to chisel the frost off here, and they dug into the Freon line and lost all the Freon. So over here it just scraped a little bit, but it's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill that with JB Weld, because the Freon can easily come around this way and still make backtrack in the same size line this way and all the way back. So we're just going to fill that in and see if we can charge it up with Freon. I'm going to show you how to do that. Around here on the back side, these little compressors, they've got a high and a low side line, and this is also a fill line. So from the factory, they're pretty cheap. All they do is they fill them with Freon, like 3 or 4 ounces worth, and then they just bend them and cap them off. So you're going to have to gain access by going back into this line. So you'll have to cut it, and you'll have to put in a little access valve in order to pull a vacuum and then recharge it with Freon. What you're going to need to fill this hole with is some fine grit sandpaper and some heavy grit sandpaper, and you'll want to go over it with the heavy grit first so it'll break up the paint. You'll just do that all around the outside, and then you'll go back with a fine grit, and you'll do that all around that whole area and get it prepped. And then we'll mix up this 2-part JB Weld mix, and I like to use a screw just because it kind of holds on to the screw, and you know, it just feels so much better than using a nail. Once you've got that cleaned up and prepped a little bit, it'll give the JB Weld a better surface to bond to. And the next step is you'll want to get some electronics parts cleaner. It dries and leaves no residue at all, to get a little bit of that sand and grit and paint out. And just load it down, and then just let it dry. And you want it thoroughly dry before you put this JB Weld on. This stuff sets pretty quick, so you want to put just about 50-50 of each blend. It's a 2-part epoxy mix, and you'll take a screw and stir them up. Don't use a nail, because if you use a nail, it'll just run off and you'll be disappointed and probably be depressed, and you won't want to think about it or talk about it to anyone. You'll just feel bad that you made a big mess. So once you get this mixed up real good, you want to make sure you get all the gray and all the black thoroughly mixed. Kind of spin it around on your screw some. Make a nice oopy goopy. Mix it up and then pack it in there like so. And kind of just roll with it backwards. Come back and get you some more before it sets up, because once it's set up, yep, you got it. It ain't no good. And I just like to smear it all around the back side, make it look real nasty. I could make it look pretty, but from what I've learned is the nastier you make it look, the better off it's going to be. Get it in there real deep. And this stuff's kind of somewhat self-leveling to a degree. I'm just going to put a little bit over here and get the last little bit of this. Put a little bit up in here where they did some scraping, but not much. Oh, dang. This is the access valve. You can get these for pretty cheap off eBay. They're like $3 or $4. And all it is a Schrader valve. in a standard fitting. So it's got a 1/4-inch copper pipe here. They come in different diameters, 3/8, quarter, and whatever. But what I did is I cut this off from my access port, the filling port that is from the factory here, and I just tapped this copper and then sanded it down, shoved this pipe on there and put some flux in there. Then you'll have to get a butane or a little propane torch and heat it up, put your solder in there and let it feed in so that that's soldered together. And then what I've found is you're going to want to pull a vacuum on this. So if you have some automotive vacuum gauges, you can do it with those. And in order to get them to fit on this, I have like a retrofit kit to convert R12 to 134A, like on a car. So I take the low side retrofit fitting, and that'll thread on there and hold that Schrader valve open, and it's got a secondary Schrader valve in there. That's just so I can get this filled. And you'll hook up your low side line and tighten it down, and then you'll hook up vacuum. This is just a cheap little air vac for automotive to pull a vacuum. All it does is uses like a Venturi effect to pull a vacuum on this, and we'll see if this thing will hold vacuum. So that pulls vacuum through the center line here, and then I send it to the low side. And it's slowly but surely pulling vacuum. And you're going to want to take some Freon. You can get these bottles at Walmart, just for automotive R134A. I don't know if that's the right stuff, but Freon is Freon to me. I don't really care. So you'll connect this on here, and then just start filling her up. It don't take a whole lot. I've heard it only takes like 3 or 4 ounces or something, so probably gonna just stop it there because the can's getting cold. And we'll plug it in, see if it runs, because I know it's got a little bit of oil left in it. Let's see how it does. Once you've filled that up a little bit, you can pull this off, and then this is as cold as it can be. You can take your retrofit nozzle, and I'd recommend just taking it off, putting your cap on there, and then I'll just tuck that line back up out of the way there. But it feels like it's getting cold as a biscuit in here, and from some of the biscuits I've felt, yeah, that's really cold. You can kind of hear it too, but looks like it's holding. I don't see anything leaking. I just touched it up with some paint, so looks like she's working. Then you can just tuck your line back up out of the way there, and I've got this little digital temperature reading device, and we'll see what this thing looks like it's reading at. Put it on Fahrenheit because I'm not a big fan of Celsius. Fahrenheit, laser. It's even got a laser pointer, so shoot people with it. And it looks like it's reading, that's 3.3 degrees Fahrenheit, not 32 or 33 degrees. There's a decimal place in there, so it looks like it's getting pretty cold. I don't see any leaks. Looks like it's down to about 3 or 5 or 7 or something. So, and this is the only part that actually gets cold in here. It's just one line that runs up into this. It's like a little separate evaporator core thing, but there's no return line, so it's just kind of like an expansion chamber. But that's how you can fix one of these for pretty cheap.